All right, so today we're going to dive into something super practical,
Okay.
sustainable living.
Okay.
But hold on to your homesteading fantasies for a sec.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about upping your self-sufficiency game right here
Okay.
in the middle of the city.
Right.
You sent us this awesome guidebook, Urban Independence.
Yes.
And it's like, whoa,
Yeah.
jam-packed with info.
I
It's
know.
like basically your one-stop shop
Mm.
for becoming,
Yeah.
more independent in the concrete jungle.
Yeah. It's very comprehensive food, energy, community building. It covers it all.
It does.
Yeah.
But there's this one chapter that you specifically flagged,
Yeah.
sustainable transportation.
Mm-hmm.
And let's be real for a second. That's something we all deal with every single day.
Every day. Yeah.
It can be a real pain point,
Yeah.
but also a huge opportunity.
Definitely.
And that's why I'm so pumped to have our urban sustainability expert here with us
Oh, I'm happy to be here.
to help us unpack all of it.
Well, and the guidebook starts off strong right away.
Yeah.
Reminding us how much cities actually contribute to greenhouse gases and waste.
It's true.
It really kind of sets the stage for why this isn't just some feel-good eco thing,
Right.
It's about tackling a really serious problem.
Okay, so big picture stuff, I get it.
Yeah.
But what's in it for me as
Yeah.
the listener?
Yeah.
How does making my commute greener actually make me more independent?
That's where it gets really interesting.
Oh.
Think about those massive supply chains
Yeah.
that keep a city running,
Yeah.
food, energy, everything.
It's all trucked in.
Yeah, trucked in from who knows where.
Yeah.
Now imagine a disruption,
Yep.
a storm, a pandemic, whatever.
Right.
If you're less reliant on that fragile system,
Yeah.
you're suddenly way more resilient.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So the less I need from out there, the less I'm affected when things go sideways.
Exactly. Plus, the guidebook makes sure to point out all the economic and social benefits, too, not just the environmental ones.
So less stress, more money in my pocket. I'm already liking this.
Yeah.
But let's get specific.
Yeah.
What are the actual ways to get around a city sustainably?
Well, urban independence kind of breaks it down into four main categories.
Okay.
Cycling infrastructure,
Okay.
electric and hybrid vehicles,
Got it.
car sharing paired with public transit,
Okay.
and finally, how to make cities more walkable.
Okay. So not just one solution. It's about having options.
Exactly.
Which is reassuring because what works in one city
Hmm?
might be a total disaster in another.
Absolutely. And that's where this guidebook is so great. It's
Okay.
all about providing tools, not preaching one right way.
I like that.
Yeah.
So let's start with bikes.
Okay.
I got to admit, I'm always a little skeptical about how truly bike-friendly a city can be.
Mm-hmm.
But this guidebook doesn't mess around.
No.
It goes way deeper in just saying just build more bike lanes.
Right. And the thing that really stood out to me was the emphasis on protected bike lanes.
Oh,
Not just a painted line on the road, but a physically separated space.
okay.
They use Copenhagen as a prime example.
Okay.
Imagine a city where biking is so safe and so common, it's the main way people get around.
That does sound amazing.
Yeah.
I love biking.
Yeah,
But dodging cars and potholes really kind of kills the joy.
totally. And the guidebook doesn't stop there.
Okay.
It goes into secure bike parking.
Okay.
So you're not worried about theft
Right.
and how those bike sharing programs can be a game changer,
Yeah.
especially if you don't want to own a bike yourself.
Yeah. That's smart because owning anything is just another layer of stuff to deal with.
Exactly.
Okay. So bikes got it.
Mm-hmm.
But what about electric vehicles?
Okay.
Are those really as green as everyone says, or are we just kind of shifting pollution around?
That's a totally valid question.
Yeah.
And the guidebook addresses it head on.
Okay, good.
It acknowledges that EVs do have a carbon footprint,
Right.
especially during manufacturing, but their overall impact is often lower than gas-powered cars.
Okay.
And as our electric grid gets greener with more renewable energy sources,
Mm-hmm.
EVs become even cleaner.
So it's not about being perfectly eco-friendly this very second.
Right.
It's about being part of that positive shift.
Precisely.
Okay, I like that.
And here's something else that just blew my mind.
Okay.
Electric buses.
Oh, yeah?
The book uses Shenzhen, China as an example.
Okay.
They have a huge fleet of electric buses.
Wow.
And the impact on air quality has been huge.
I can't even imagine how much quieter a city would be without all those rumbling diesel engines.
Right.
Okay, so we've covered owning a bike,
Mm.
owning an electric car, but what about ditching car ownership altogether?
Ooh, Ooh, interesting.
That's where car sharing and public transit come in, right?
Exactly. And that gets to the heart of self-sufficiency in a different way.
Okay.
You're not reliant on owning one vehicle.
Yeah.
You're tapping into a whole network.
I guess that does make you less vulnerable
Yeah,
to things like breakdowns or, those sky-high repair bills.
for sure.
You have options.
You do.
Yeah.
The guidebook actually encourages folks to use public transit for their regular commutes
Mm-hmm.
and then utilize car sharing services for those occasional trips out of town.
Okay.
It's about finding the right tool for the job.
It makes sense financially, too. I mean, car ownership is expensive,
Oh, yeah,
especially if it's mostly just sitting in a parking spot all day.
right.
So this could actually save money and be better for the environment.
Totally.
Win-win.
Win-win.
I like it.
And speaking of a different way to experience the city,
Okay.
let's talk about walkability.
Okay.
It's often overlooked,
Yeah.
but the guidebook stresses that a truly walkable city
Yeah.
is about so much more than just having sidewalks.
I think we've all experienced that frustration
Oh, yeah,
of trying to walk in a city that clearly wasn't designed for it.
definitely.
Sidewalks blocked dangerous intersections.
It's like they want you to stay in your car.
It really is.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
The guidebook highlights how a walkable city is about making it safe, enjoyable, and convenient to get around on foot.
Yeah.
Wide sidewalks, shade trees, interesting things to see along the way.
Right.
It's about creating an environment where people actually want to walk.
So it's not just a means of getting from A to B.
Right.
It's part of like a good quality of life.
Exactly. And that ties directly back to the self-sufficiency idea.
Okay.
A walkable city is a healthier city,
That's true.
both for you and for the planet.
Yeah.
Plus, you get to know your neighborhood better,
You do.
which builds a sense of community.
Totally.
And that's another key aspect of self-sufficiency that the guidebook emphasizes.
Wow. We've covered a lot of ground already.
I know we have.
It's amazing how many different facets there are to sustainable transportation.
It really is, and we've only just scratched the surface of what urban independence delves into.
I know, right?
But before we get ahead of ourselves... Okay.
Let's take a moment to reflect on what we've learned so far.
Great idea. So, listener,
Yeah,
we've thrown a lot of information your way.
we have.
Bikes, electric vehicles, ditching the car altogether.
It's a lot.
It can feel kind of overwhelming.
Yeah.
So let's just pause for a sec and think about your own life.
Yeah.
Your own city.
Mm-hmm.
Which of these options speaks to you the most?
Right.
Which feels doable right now?
Yeah, and don't get hung up on trying to do everything at once.
Right.
This is a journey.
It is.
Start with one small step, something you can implement today.
That's such a good point. It's about progress, not perfection.
Exactly.
And those small steps, when we all take them together, can lead to really big changes.
They do, and that's what makes this so exciting.
I agree.
We're not just talking about individual choices here.
Yeah.
We're talking about shaping the future of our cities.
Well said. All right, folks. That's a wrap for part one.
Okay.
But stick around, because up next, we're going deeper into the world of electric vehicles.
The technology, the pros, the cons, the whole shebang.
Sounds good.
We'll see you in a bit.
All right. Welcome back to our deep dive into sustainable transportation.
And we're picking up right where we left off, folks, exploring the world of electric and hybrid vehicles.
Yeah, these technologies are really at the forefront of making cities less reliant on fossil fuels.
Definitely.
Yeah.
But before we get into like all the nitty-gritty details,
Yeah.
let's make sure everyone's on the same page here.
Okay.
What exactly are we talking about when we say hybrid versus electric vehicles?
Good point. The guidebook does a really nice job of laying out the basics.
Okay.
A hybrid electric vehicle, or HEV,
Okay.
is like a combo deal.
Okay.
It's got a traditional gas engine and an electric motor,
Okay.
so it can switch back and forth,
Oh, cool.
depending on what's most efficient for the driving conditions.
So you're not fully electric, but you're using less gas.
Exactly. Now, a battery electric vehicle, or BEV,
Right.
is all electric all the time.
Okay.
No gas tank, just a battery that you plug in to recharge.
Got it. So that's the what.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I know the guidebook is big on the benefits of these vehicles,
Yeah,
but it also doesn't shy away from like the potential downsides.
right. It's all about being informed.
Right, exactly.
And one of the big ones, especially in the early days of EVs,
Yeah.
was range anxiety.
Okay.
That fear of running out of charge before you reach your destination.
Especially in a city where charging stations aren't exactly on every corner like gas stations are.
Right. But the guidebook highlights how much battery technology has improved.
Okay.
Some EVs can now go hundreds of miles on a single charge.
Okay. That's impressive. But what about the time it takes to charge?
Yeah.
Filling a gas tank takes minutes.
True charging does take longer,
Yeah.
but again, technology is catching up.
Okay.
There are fast charging stations popping up
Yeah.
that can juice you up way quicker than in the past.
And the guidebook also mentioned home charging, right?
Yes. For many EV owners, charging overnight at home is super convenient.
Okay.
Wake up and you're good to go.
Makes sense. So range and charging are big factors.
Mm-hmm.
But what other concerns does the guidebook address?
One that's often brought up is the environmental impact
Yeah.
of battery production and disposal.
Okay.
Those batteries are resource intensive to make.
Right.
And if they're not recycled properly, they
Yeah.
can pose some environmental hazards.
Right. It's not enough to just focus on the car itself.
Yeah.
We have to look at the whole picture.
Exactly. And that's where the guidebook gets into the need
Okay.
for government policies and industry initiatives
Yeah.
that promote responsible battery recycling
Okay.
and the development of even more sustainable battery technologies.
Makes sense. So we've talked about the cars themselves.
Yeah.
But the guidebook also stresses how cities need to adapt
Yeah.
to this electric vehicle revolution.
Absolutely. And it breaks down a few key areas.
Okay.
First off, robust charging infrastructure.
Right.
Just like we have gas stations everywhere,
Yeah.
we need a widespread network of charging stations, both public and private.
So no more stressing about where to charge up.
Right. Then there's the need for incentives
Okay.
to encourage people to make the switch.
Gotcha.
Think tax breaks, rebates, maybe even access to special parking or lanes for EVs.
I've heard some cities are even experimenting with making certain zones electric only.
Exactly. And let's not forget about public transportation.
Oh, yeah. Good point.
Imagine a city with a whole fleet of electric buses.
Wow.
What a game changer for pollution and noise reduction.
Totally.
The guidebook really emphasizes that transitioning public transport to electric should be a top priority.
It's interesting because as much as we're focusing on electric vehicles, the guidebook is also pushing the idea of reducing car dependence altogether.
You're right. Owning any car, even an electric one, means you're still reliant on external systems
Yep.
for fuel or charging.
That's true.
That's where car sharing and public transit come in.
Okay.
They offer alternatives to individual ownership,
Right.
and that can be super empowering.
It's like you're part of a transportation network, not tied to a single vehicle.
And that gives you flexibility and resilience.
Oh.
Imagine there's a power outage
Yeah.
and your electric car is out of commission.
Oh, no.
If you're comfortable hopping on the bus or grabbing a shared car,
Yeah.
you're not stranded.
That's a great point. So it sounds like the ideal situation
Yeah,
isn't just replacing all gas cars with electric ones.
right.
It's about having a mix of transportation options available.
Exactly. And as technology improves and cities adapt,
Yeah.
those options are becoming more accessible and convenient than ever.
So what's the takeaway for our listener who's probably wondering how to apply all this to their own life?
I'd say start exploring the alternatives.
Okay.
How could you incorporate more walking, biking, or public transit into your daily routine? If you're thinking about a new car, research electric and hybrid options.
Good advice.
And don't forget to support policies that promote sustainable transportation in your city.
It's a reminder that we're not just passive passengers here.
Right, can actively shape the future of transportation in our cities.
Exactly. And by making those choices,
Yeah.
we're not only reducing our own impact,
Right.
but contributing to a healthier, more vibrant urban future.
All right, folks, we've covered a lot of ground on electric and hybrid vehicles, but before we jump into the last leg of our sustainable transportation journey, let's take a quick breather.
Up next, we're diving into a topic that's often overlooked, but incredibly important: walkability. Stick around.
Okay, so we're back
We are back.
and ready to tackle the final piece of the sustainable transportation puzzle,
Mm-hmm.
walkability.
Okay.
It might seem simple on the surface,
Yeah.
but this guidebook, Urban Independence,
Yeah.
really digs deep
Yeah.
into what makes a city truly pedestrian friendly.
It's something we often take for granted, I think,
Yeah.
until we encounter a city that's just not
Right.
designed for walking.
Yes.
And then suddenly
Yeah.
those little errands or that nice evening stroll
Right.
become a frustrating ordeal.
Right.
Oh, I've totally been there.
Yeah.
Dodging cracked sidewalks,
Oh.
jaywalking, because the crosswalks are like miles apart.
Right.
It makes you feel like you're fighting the city just to get around on foot.
Exactly. And that's what the guidebook is getting at.
Okay.
A walkable city isn't just about the absence of obstacles.
Mhm.
It's about actively encouraging and supporting walking as a legitimate mode
Right.
of transportation.
So it's about shifting the mindset
Yeah.
from like, I have to walk because I don't have a car,
Right.
to I choose to walk because it's enjoyable and convenient.
Precisely, think about those elements that make walking a pleasure.
Okay.
Wide, well-maintained sidewalks, shade trees, interesting shops and cafes to discover along the way.
Yeah.
It's about creating a journey, not just a commute.
It's like the difference between a boring highway and a scenic back road.
Oh, I love that analogy.
Right.
One you endure, the other you savor.
Exactly.
And the guidebook breaks down walkability into a few key factors. There's the physical infrastructure, of course.
Yeah.
But also safety, accessibility, and even aesthetics.
Yeah, because a beautiful, well-lit street just feels more inviting to walk on.
Absolutely.
You feel safer, more connected to your surroundings.
Totally. And the guidebook stresses the importance of well-lit streets, clear crosswalks, traffic calming measures.
Okay.
It even talks about how those little details, like benches or public art, can make a huge difference in how people experience a walk.
It's funny how something as simple as a bench can like transform a space.
Right.
Suddenly you're not just rushing through.
Yeah.
You could pause, take in the scene, maybe chat with a neighbor.
Exactly. And that social aspect is something the guidebook really emphasizes.
Yep.
A city designed for walking naturally fosters more interaction between people.
Yeah.
You're more likely to bump into neighbors, strike up conversations, or simply observe the life happening around you.
It makes the city feel more human.
It does.
Less like a concrete jungle and more like a community.
Exactly. And of course, we can't forget the health benefits.
Oh, yeah, good point.
Walking is such a simple, accessible way to get exercise, reduce stress, and just feel more connected to your body.
It's like a built-in workout routine, no gym membership required.
Right.
Okay, so we've established that walkability is awesome.
Yes.
But how do we actually make it happen?
Yeah.
In cities that seem like they were designed for cars.
Right. Well, the guidebook offers a bunch of practical solutions.
Okay, good.
Both for individuals and policymakers.
Okay.
For starters, we can advocate for mixed-use development.
Okay.
Having shops, restaurants, and housing
all
within walking distance. That reduces the need for car trips in the first place.
So it's about creating those like self-contained neighborhoods.
Yes.
Where everything you need is a short stroll away.
Exactly.
Wow.
We can also push for investments in pedestrian infrastructure.
Okay.
Better sidewalks, safer crosswalks.
Yeah.
Traffic signals that prioritize walkers.
Right. And it's not just about big, expensive projects.
Okay.
Something as simple as planting more trees along streets can make a huge difference.
Yeah, especially in hot climates.
Especially in hot climates.
That shade is a lifesaver.
It really is. It's about those little touches that make walking more enjoyable, more inviting.
Right. And don't underestimate the power of supporting businesses that cater to pedestrians.
Oh, that's huge.
Choosing that local cafe over the drive-through coffee chain sends a message.
It does.
That we value walkability.
Absolutely. So it's about aligning our everyday choices with the kind of city we want to live in.
I like that. And perhaps the most important thing we can do is simply walk more ourselves.
Yes.
Choose to walk whenever possible.
Yeah.
Even if it means parking a bit farther away or getting off the bus a stop early. The more people embrace walking, the more demand there will be for cities to accommodate us.
It's about creating that cultural shift.
Showing that walking isn't just a last resort.
Right.
It's a valid, enjoyable way to get around.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And as we wrap up this deep dive into sustainable transportation, I think that's the message I want our listeners to walk away with.
Yeah.
Pun intended.
Pun intended.
You have the power to choose how you move through your city.
You do.
You can walk, bike, take public transit, embrace those electric vehicles.
Absolutely.
It's about recognizing that we have options.
Yeah.
And each choice we make ripples out and shapes the bigger picture.
Exactly. And those choices can lead to a more sustainable,
a
healthier, and ultimately a more joyful way of life.
What a fantastic way to end this deep dive. So listener, we encourage you to step outside, explore your city on foot, and discover the power and the pleasure of walking. Thanks for joining us.